This is Rose Crow. I'm the general manager over at Remodeling Wizards of Maryland, based out of Annapolis. And I'm here today with John Capozzi, the owner of Remodeling Wizards, and we are talking about decks. We've been getting a lot of calls lately. Right now, it's the fall, and we've been getting a lot of calls about what people should do about their deck. Should they resurface it, or is it time to replace it? So as part of our Ask the Contractor series, we have John here to talk a little bit about, what people should be evaluating when they're trying to decide what they should be doing with their deck. So, John, what are your thoughts? How do you know when you should be replacing or resurfacing?
That's a great question, Rose. What happens is people give us a call and they say, listen, I want to resurface my deck, and can you come out and take a look at it? It really is important to study the deck and do an assessment on it before you decide to resurface it. The reason is, lots of times we get out to someone's home and we find out that the deck that they have is not a good candidate for resurfacing. What I mean by that is if this deck is so old that the wood, that's the framing, underneath what you see, underneath the decking itself, the framing is starting to rot, there's a good chance it's time to just replace the deck. So some of the things we look at when we come out, first of all, we look for rot and to see if the rot is just on the deck boards or if it's further along in the framing itself. The other thing that's important to look at is, does this deck meet today's code? So there's lots of things to look at there. We look at the supports, we look at the beams, we look at the post. We take a look to see if there's any footers under the posts that are holding the deck up. So that's the first thing. Get an assessment of the condition of the framing before you make a decision to resurface the deck. If the framing's bad, replace the deck.
Can we take a step back? Can you tell us what does it mean to resurface a deck? Like, what exactly is that?
Resurfacing a deck. What that means is that if you have deck boards that are rotted, for example, the floor of the deck, what people do is have those deck boards removed and put in either new wood or put a composite decking on the deck. And the other thing that you may want to do, and typically people do, if you're going to put a new decking, a new floor in your deck, you should also consider putting new rails in place and also replacing the stair treads.
Okay, so it's the difference of taking the entire deck down, building it from the footers up, or just replacing the floor of the deck and potentially the railings. So that's like really the difference there.
Correct. And what's happening is it's a smaller job. You'll save a few dollars because you're not replacing the framing. But again, that framing has to be in good shape, because if it's not, you're basically wasting your money putting new deck boards on an old frame.
That makes a lot of sense. You also mentioned, the deck material, composite versus wood. Can you tell us a little bit about what the difference is between those two products?
Well, the reason why a lot of people are using composites today versus wood is because it has very little maintenance. It's a man-made product. It's not going to rot. It's not going to get bug infestation. It's easy to clean. So it's something that can last a long time. A lot of the warranties are 25 years and even more on a composite deck. Now, wood is typically you'll use a pressure-treated wood, and that could last a long time also, but it does need maintenance at least every year or two. You should be staining it and sealing it to make sure it lasts. Most people just don't want to do the work. Of course, wood is less expensive than composite, so that's one of the reasons why people like to look at wood.
Yeah, what is the price difference generally between composite and a wood deck?
Well, think of it like this. You can buy a 1x6 by 16 wood, a piece of wood. That's one piece of wood decking, 16 feet long, for about $20. That same board in composite could cost $70 or $80, and sometimes more, depending on the brand.
Wow. So how long does a wood deck last about?
Well, the thing about a wood deck is if it's pressure treated wood and it's well maintained, you'll get 20 years, maybe more out of it. But then again, if you're not maintaining on a regular basis, you may end up where it looks pretty bad in about 10 or 15 years.
A lot of decisions to make with decking. Well, that's all we're going to talk about today. Thank you so much for your time, John. And if you have any questions, this is a part of a series that we're running called Ask the Contractor. If you have a question you'd like us to ask John, please drop it down below. And we look forward to seeing you in our next video.
Take care.